Hey, Richard, can I ask you a question real quick before you get started?
Yeah, sure. Carry on.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks. I wanted to get it in because sometimes I can't always stay until the end. I just started trading Crossfire recently or running the trade assistant with Crossfire. And once a pair takes a trade for that particular session, is it supposed to be allowed to take another trade later? Or, oh, I'm sorry, I got a dog growling.
Okay.
Uh,
It's the trading assistant is currently programmed to stop trading a pair once it's taken a trade.
that's
Um,
what I thought, but
yeah,
Euro USD yesterday morning, it took a sell trade. And then it turned around after that trade lost and it went above the other trend line and then turned around and took a buy trade. And
right.
I didn't think they were supposed to take two, but it did happen. So I was curious about that.
Okay. I'll raise that with Oliver. But one of the things that one of the changes that I'm asking Oliver to make is to make it optional as to whether it stops trading after one trade or not. So
Oh,
it,
that'd be great. Something you can toggle on and off to
yes,
choose. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. There is a way around it if you want to, if you want to, well, if it's just done what you've just told me, then it shouldn't have done that. But if you had already traded and you wanted to take another trade, there is a way around it, and that's to take off the trade assistant from that particular pair and then reload it back onto that pair, and it will start afresh. And I'll cover that right now. Actually, I'll share my screen. I'll show you exactly what I mean.
Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen. So welcome everybody. Thank you for jumping on. This is my um, this is my MT5, and I'm on Euro USD. And I'll just move you guys out of the way, and then I can show you what I mean. Okay, so if I go, let's say this pair had already traded, and you had a message along in this blue panel here saying already traded, and you wanted if you saw that the price was going into a position where you might want to get into another trade, you can currently you can currently go to view at the top there and navigator, and you would actually have these four hats would be blue because your algo trading will be on. So I need to put that on. So let's say Euro USD had sort of disabled itself because it's saying already traded. You can take, if you right click on that and then remove the um, the trading assistant from Euro USD, and you see that it's disappeared off there. And what you can do, just check that you're still on Euro USD, and then drag the trading assistant back on, and you need to load your current set. So my current set is PM EU 3-pip crossfire set. All of the other afternoon crossfire pairs come under PM GU EC GC 4-pip set, but I'm looking for this one. And if I load that up, you should see we're back to normal, and you would have a message up there saying looking for trades. It's currently saying out of session for obvious reasons. Um, I just need to to finish answering your question, Curtis. I'm pretty sure that Oliver will be able to put something in the settings that allows you to toggle between trade only once or trade multiple times, and that would seem to make sense to me because I've often in the past seen a second opportunity on a pair, and I think that the reason why Oliver did it the way it is because he's assumed that if we're trading four pairs, we only want to trade once per pair, but that doesn't always apply. So I hope
Thank
that
you.
answers your question.
Yeah, and I'll wait to hear back from you on that. But I just went back and looked at my history for yesterday morning. So yeah, it was Euro USD. This would be the Crossfire PM session, but I'm in the US, so it's my morning. But
Yeah,
it took a sell trade at 725, and then it turned around and took a buy trade at 757.
yes.
So yeah, I was wondering. I thought that it's supposed to only take one, but maybe it was just some sort of a glitch or something. I'll just keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
I'll let you know if it happens again.
yeah. I'm glad you raised that because I was feeling pretty sure that that had happened to me at some point in the past. But Oliver said, no, no, it's only allowed to take one trade. So I didn't pursue it any further, but you just confirmed something for me. So thanks for that. I'm just going to go to my indicator list because one of the things on my chart, when you reload the trading assistant, you get the default situation down here, and I prefer a white line down in my order after. So I'm going to go to my indicator list. I'm going to delete one of those HA smooth because they're both exactly the same. They're both value 13. So you can only see one on my chart, but if you don't keep this indicator panel neat and tidy, you'll end up slowing down your computer. So although it's a duplicated one, you need to remove one of them. So I'm just going to delete that, and then I'm going to water atta. I need to talk to Oliver about making this default as well. Although if he makes it default to be white, there'll be some people who've got a white background on their charts, and they'll start wanting it black. So I don't know what the answer is for that, but I prefer to be able to see the explosion line, which is the name for that white line. I like to be able to see it clearer than it was just then. So I'm just checking. I've got algo trading on. I've got 4 blue hats, and I've got a blue hat in my top right-hand corner. So we're good to go there. So I can get rid of navigator. And I'm just going to, well, today, it should be pretty obvious, it's not a good day to be trading because of the US election situation. I personally didn't trade this morning, even on my demo account. I just didn't think it was going to be worthwhile because any results that I got were bound to be slightly swayed by the occasion. So we've got a US election today, and I think this session is more likely to be a question and answer session or me going over what I see on the screen. So if you do have any questions, please shout out or put them in the chat if you don't want to speak. And I'm just going to check and see who's on. So I can see Matt Bob is on, Helen's on, Julie's on.
I'm on now, Richard, as well. It's just changed my name. It's just got GD under there,
All right,
Gary.
okay. So I was just wondering if we've got somebody new. So, but that's Gary. So thanks everybody for jumping on. I'm going to try and keep this as informative as I can. But being, we talk about red flag news, and today just blows everything out of the water because the way I see it, it's either going to be a day where everything stays in consolidation, and we don't like consolidation, or it's going to be a volatile day where the big boys use the occasion to hide their price manipulation, and in either of those events, I really don't want to be caught up in a trade. So I personally am giving trading a miss today, but I'm going to use this session as a purely educational. And I'm just going to say what I see on my screen now. I'm with a broker called FTMO. I've got $100,000 demo account, and therefore, when you look at these bits of information here on the blue panel, I'm asking my trade assistant to risk 0.5% on this pair. Now I need to share my, if I can get that. Right, so in the in the UK, this is our afternoon session. This is 1 p.m. It's 8 a.m. in New York. So I realise that some of you regard this as the morning session, but for me, it's the afternoon session. I look at 4 pairs in the afternoon, and on each of those 4 pairs, I'm prepared to risk a half of 1%. So if you look at the number, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 4 pairs that we trade. Going back to the big screen. So the trading assistant works out that if I'm risking a half of 1% on this particular trade, then I'm risking just over $500 on this pair. So because I group the 4 pairs together for a crossfire session, I'm actually risking 4 times 0.5%. So I'm risking a full 2%. If all of these 4 trades go against me, I can potentially lose 2% today on this session. The other thing that the trading assistant does is it calculates the lot size. So having told it I want to risk half of 1%, it's calculated that I need therefore to place a lot size of 16.76. And that will mean that in rough terms, if I lose a trade on Euro USD, my loss will be limited to $500 or thereabouts, because the other thing that you've got to factor in is your broker spread. And the broker will take, if you notice, whenever you enter a trade, you are always, without exception, starting the trade in a loss situation, and that's because the broker takes his or her profit or commission, or well, they take their fees. That's a better word. They take their broker fees before you start making any profit. So you automatically start any trade in the loss. Now with Euro USD, you can see up here I've got a figure 2. That is, and it's just changed to 3. Where my cursor is in the top right hand corner, it's telling me that my broker spread on Euro US is 2 points. In other words, 0.2 pips. It's a very low spread on Euro USD. It remains pretty low at all times. There is a bit of a hiatus when you get to the end of the New York session when price go crazy, but generally you can rely on Euro US being a fairly low spread. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is down here, if you can see where my cursor is, it says spread, and I've got a number 2 in there. So that's referring to 2 pips, and that is the maximum spread my trading assistant will enter a trade. So at 0.2, 0.3, it's well within my limits. But I've asked the trading assistant if the spread got up to more than 2 pips, so that would be 20. That number would be 20, not to get into a trade, for the simple reason that the broker spread would water down my profits way too much, and I don't want to be in a trade where the broker's taking as much out of the trade as I'm going to take. I limit all of my crossfire pairs, both the morning session and the afternoon session. I limit all of the pairs to a maximum of 2 pips spread, broker spread. In the early morning, the 6 a.m. session, there are quite often some of the pairs that are more than 2 pips, and the trading assistant simply will not take a trade until they get below the 2 pip limit. The other bit of information we've got down here is exit type, and I've programmed my trading assistant to exit a trade when I get into a risk to reward of 1 to 2. So if I'm risking a half of 1% on this pair, I'm standing to gain a full 1% on this pair. So I'm risking losing a half a percent, and I'm trying to make 1%. So when you combine the 4 pairs together, I'm risking 2%, 4 times a half, and I'm standing to gain, if they all go my way, I'm standing to gain a full 4%. So I'm only aiming for trades that are going to make me a risk to reward of 1 to 2. Now, you've just seen some new information just appear on the screen, and that's the trend lines. So what we were looking at previously was we had a white vertical line, which was, according to my broker, who was 2 hours ahead of me, that was at 1500 hours. But because he's 2 hours ahead of me, that's actually 1300 hours UK time. That will be 800 hours New York time. So that is just a marker to say, right, I've sprung into action, and the green trend line is at 1:15. It's saying 15:15. It's actually 13:15, or if you're in New York time zone, it's 8:15. And that time period between those two lines is the important time when we look for a high point and we look for a low point in that 15-minute period. You see the low point, it's slightly out, but not enough to make any difference. That is the low point there. It's using that one as a low point, and then it's looking left for slightly lower. But that's something that's to do with brokers and internet symbols and one thing and another. But that is accurate enough for this purpose. So we've now got, and the same on the green trend line, I would have taken it up to that point, but it would have gone back to that point. And so that both the lines are very slightly out, but not sufficient for me to worry about. So basically what it's done in that 15-minute period is waited for the high point and the low point, and then it's looked left for the nearest lower point and look left from the nearest higher point, and it's drawn the trend lines, and it does that automatically. Previous to this, we used to have to draw these trend lines ourselves, and that took up a bit of time. So there was something in the chat. Let me just see what that was. So Julie's saying, I don't see the charts. Okay. So let me just try. I'll stop sharing. I'll start sharing again. Stop share. And then Julie, if you can tell me if you can see after I start sharing again. Right, so I've started sharing again. And hopefully you all can see my screen.
See Euro USD.
Yeah. I'm on
Okay.
Euro USD, and Julie's saying perfect. Well done. So we've got 4 lines on the chart. The 1 o'clock chart is telling me that the trading assistant has come to work. The green line is the end of the 15-minute. That is a period where we watch the candles and we look for the high side, we look for the high point, and we look for the low point, and then we look left. We've now got the green trend line and the red trend line, and the first thing the trading assistant looks for is, are we above the green trend line or are we below the red trend line? If we're above the green trend line, we start looking for buys. We only look for buys when we're above the green trend line. If we're below the red trend line, we only look for sells. So at the minute, we're in what we call no man's land. We're between the green and the red, and therefore the trading assistant is saying we're in the trade zone, but we're not looking for either a buy or a sell. When price eventually drops below the red trend line or goes above the green trend line, we get a message here saying looking for a buy signal or looking for a sell signal. But at the minute, the trading assistant is simply waiting and watching, and that'll remain the case until price either comes below the red or goes above the green. Right, so we've just popped below the red, and when this candle closes, if it closes below the red, you'll see a message appear here looking for a sell signal. This is a countdown in the top right-hand corner. We've got 40 seconds left before this candle closes. And at that point, if we're still below the red trend line, the trading assistant will move on to the second criteria, which is, has there been a recent change of wave? Now I'm going to put the line going on there so that the actual price is the green line. The other thing that you can see on my chart is you've got the green, these are Heikin-Ashi candles. These are smooth Heikin-Ashi candles, and they smooth out the fluctuations in price. And at that point there, the wave changed from green upwards to red downwards. So that is a recent wave change. So well, I don't understand why it hasn't said looking for a sell signal, but never mind. We'll be patient with something else.
I just sent my chart image in chat for you to look at when you get a second. My trend lines are completely different than yours, like night and day difference.
Okay, I'm just going to have a quick look at that. Yeah. Wow. And I think you're on did you say you're on a MetaTrader demo account?
Yes.
Okay. I definitely need to raise that with Oliver. There are quite often differences between brokers, but not that much difference. I'm just trying to work out where do you have the vertical lines on your chart? The timelines. Okay, so let me just come out of that and go back to mine. So I've got the vertical white line and the vertical green line indicating the times, and you don't appear to have that. Your
Maybe I should restart my MT5 or something. It might be something going on there.
yeah, I was just going to say we had Gary had an issue with one of his accounts yesterday, and
The account I had the issue with. I mean, I've had a word with Oliver. He's replied to it. I don't know whether there's anything they can do, but what I've had to do is, I mean, I still don't know. Compared them, I had to move the time back on the real account to 5 o'clock,
yeah,
and then both charts are identical. I mean, I don't know what that does to the time. I've done a time check for him. To me, as far as I'm concerned now, if I want to run on a real account, I presume he's just going to take the trade I can see on my demo account, even though the times are totally out of sync. I don't really know, but
yeah,
that's what I'm having to believe.
yeah. Once again, I noticed that I noticed your post and Oliver's reply in the chat. I'm not qualified to tell you anything about that. I understand what the problem is, but I don't understand what the solution is.
Well, you think it's a broker, is it? Presume it's the broker's times or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. I had a bit of an issue with Finitive at one point, and I just gave up. I shouldn't have done, but I did. I felt I was banging my head against the wall. But Oliver will sort that for you. He's actually on the case, so he'll sort that for you. So I'll also raise your issue, Curtis. You're on MetaTrader, MetaQuotes. Is it MetaQuotes demo account that you're on?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'll raise that with Oliver.
I'm restarting that. I feel like it's probably just some sort of a glitch. I'm like removing the EA from the chart and putting it back on.
Yeah,
And I'll let you know if that fixed it. If
that,
so, it's
yeah, that often is the fix, to be honest. Let me know how it works. I'm continuing with my sort of walkthrough of what I can see on the chart. Now I can see that we've now got a line here saying looking for a sell signal. So it's realized that price is actually below the red trend line. That's the reason why that changed to we're looking for a sell. The second thing that the trading assistant looks for is a recent change of wave. So the change from a green Heikin-Ashi to a red Heikin-Ashi, that was the change of wave, and that is the second qualifying item in the trading assistant. So we've now got two confirmations that we're looking for a sell. The third one, oh sorry, I should say that that qualifies in my eyes because the change of wave was less than 20 candles ago. I've got a setting on my TA that tells it to ignore a change of wave if it was more than 20 candles ago. I like to have a fairly recent wave change before I get into a trade. So I've settled on 20. You can settle on whatever number you want. But I think 20 is about right. I think it's recent enough for it to be relevant. I think if you've got for instance here, I wouldn't get into a trade down here because that wave change was more than 20 candles away. So there was a wave change there, but if I was looking at getting in for a sell down here, my trading system wouldn't take it. It would take this one because it's fairly recent, and it would take this one because it's fairly recent. So the third thing that the trading assistant works for, so it's ticked a box that says, are we below the red trend line? Now, can you see it's now changed back to we're in the trade zone because price has now gone back above the red trend line. So it's not going to take any trades right now. But the third thing it was looking for, the first thing it was looking for was price in relation to the red trend line. Second thing was price in relation to the latest change of wave. The third thing it's looking for is, has there been a recent MA crossover? Now that the MAs are the MAs are the white line there, and that's the 200 moving average, and the yellow line there, which is a 13 moving average. I'll just try and hover over it there. So that's a 13 moving average. And I like a pretty recent crossover as my number 3. And you can see that crossover would satisfy my setting because I like it to be within the previous 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that would qualify. By the way, we've just gone back to being in a sell signal because price has come down here. So if I put the candles back on instead of the line drawing, you'll see that price is now below the red trend line. So that's ticked the first box. We have a recent wave change. So that's ticked the second box. We have a recent MA crossover. So that's ticked the third box. And the fourth box we need to tick is the Wada Atta. We need this. You see at the minute the Wada Atta signal, if you can see it, is actually saying no trade, and that's because we need the explosion line to be pointing away from the dead zone, which is the orange line. So the white line needs to be pointing away, which it is at the minute. It needs to be, the histogram needs to be above the white line, but we need more than one candle. So when the next candle opens, if it's still pointing upwards and the histogram is pointing above, above the explosion line, we'll probably see this change from no trade to short. And at that point, my trading assistant should actually enter me into a trade. We've got 45 seconds before the next. Oh, there we've got a second candle, but look what's happening. The explosion line isn't. It is still pointing away, but it's struggling a bit because price is reversing. So my trading assistant is keeping me out of this trade right now. I need a more, you see the color has changed from red to orange, and that is not a good point, good signal. I would wait until that there changed from no trade to short before. If I was trading manually, I'd be waiting for that to change. My trading assistant is following my instructions, and therefore it's waiting for that to change to short. And that really has sort of ratified my trading assistant, because it's, if I'd got in when it started to go down here, I would now be back into drawdown. There wasn't sufficient momentum for that to continue going downwards, and the water atta told me that. Wasn't sufficient momentum, there wasn't sufficient volume in the market for it to continue going down. So I regard that as a success, in that it's kept me out of a trade that I would have lost. Now, the other thing that we've got built into the trading assistant is we put the news within the trading assistant. Now, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and go on to a different screen. And if I can get there. No, just bear with me. Need to go over there. I'm looking for my economic calendar, but I need to share it. One second. Okay, so please let me know if you can now see this is my FX book. This is the, it sounds as if I've just been taken into a trade, but I'm just going to finish this off first. This is my FX book, which is a source of news, and it's actually telling me that there is some high impact news in 55 minutes, and there's further high impact news in an hour and 10 minutes, and then there's further high impact news in an hour and 25. But I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to go back to my if I can go back to my chart. Please tell me if you can't see my MT5. I'm on Euro USD. There's a panel here that is saying my trading assistant has just got me into a buy trade on GBP USD. So if I close that and go to that pair, GBP USD, that's this one here. So I'm just going to talk you through what I can see on there. I need to just bring that There we go. Okay. So now I can see that I'm just going to analyze why it got me into this trade. So price went below the red. It then more recently just got it, at that point it was above the green. Where no, there's the green trend line. So I'm above the green trend line, and at that point that it got me in, had we had a recent wave change? Let me just put the line going on. So yes, there was a recent wave. It was in a downward red direction. It's now in an upward green direction, and that is within my criteria of 20 candles. So it was right to get me in. It got me in also because there was an MA crossover. My 13 yellow line crossed over my 200 white line. So that's 3 boxes ticked. And then if you look down at the water atta, it's still saying long. And the reason it's saying long is because we've got an explosion line pointing away from the dead zone line, and we've got histogram lines above the explosion line, and we've got multiple histogram bars above the explosion line. So it's quite correct. It's got in. It's done what I told it to do. It's got me in. However, since it got me in, price is starting to go in the opposite direction. That's now got me in another trade. But I'll just finish off what I was saying there. Put the candles back on. So I'm currently in drawdown. I'm currently 1.5 pips in drawdown. GBP USD has got a higher broker spread than Euro USD. You can see it's 1.2 pips spread. And currently it's going against me. This red line here.
It's got me into the same trade, Richard, as well.
Are you in 2 now, Gary?
No, it's just got me in the 1 at the minute. It seemed to get me got me into mine at 13:35 because I won't get into it unless there's red within 5 minutes after red flag news.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't have any red flag news on my chart.
I'm in 2, Richard, as well. I'm in EU and GU.
All right. So the green dotted line is the point of entry. The red dash line is my stop loss. And on GBP USD, as I said earlier, I take a 4 pip stop loss, and I take an 8 pip take profit, which is up there. At the minute, it's sort of price is stuck. The dark green histogram was showing really strong. We should be getting in for a buy, but since then it's changed from long to no trade, and that's because the histogram has got weaker. It's still green, but it's a light green. I think that's called a lime green. But you can see that the explosion line is still pointing away from the dead zone. So there's still a possibility that price would go up, but we're currently 0.9, actually we're 0.4 pips. So it's looking encouraging. We're going to look at the other pair and see if I can see anything. So I've gone through the 4 criteria. They were all met. My criteria were all met on that particular pair. If I go to Euro US, that's that one. So that was my point of entry. There's a green dotted line. Why did it get me in? It got me in because I was above the green trend line. That's 1 box ticked. It got me in because there'd been a recent wave change. We were red down, we're now green up. It got me, so that's 2 boxes ticked. The 3rd box was ticked when this line crossed over, when the yellow line crossed over the white line. So the MA cross had occurred. And if you look down here, if I draw a line, it got me in on that candle there. That's the candle it got me in. And if you look at down here, you can see that the explosion line was definitely pointing away from the dead zone line. and the histogram had, there were two consecutive histogram bars above, dark green histogram bars above the explode line. So that's why it got me in. That's my entry point. The red line below is my stop loss, which on this pair is only 3 pips. And I'm going to need to drag this down to get my take profit. So there's my take profit up there. So we're half a pip down, and well, let's just see what happens. Those were both textbook crossfire entries, both following my instructions for the TA. As I say, today I wouldn't be trading because I'm just, well, I'm a pretty cautious trader, and I don't like trading when there's high impact news. And
what's interesting on that, Richard, is what I've done is on my settings, just for the Euro USD, I took the MA crossover off. I've got them all on true. I took that one off,
yeah,
left it on false. It got me in as it was dropping there. And I could have, I've just monitored it, and I could have got out, making it probably about 0.6%, 0.7% before it went the other way.
right.
Then it's got you. That's why it's not got me, because it's already traded.
Right.
It's got already traded on the screen for me. But that can justify why you need the MA crossover on to be, if you want to be cautious about it.
Yeah, if you want to, I was going to be, if you're going to say if you want to be super safe, there's no such thing as super safe in forex trading. But if I take a very cautious approach, and I would like the trading assistant to have all 4 of my boxes ticked before it gets me in. That is not to say that that's the only way to trade. When I've been testing the trading assistant, I have occasionally, like Gary's just said, switched off the requirement for an MA crossover, and I've won trades without the MA crossover occurring. Now, I would only do that in certain circumstances, and I'll try and cover that anyway. But I think the main point is it's down to you to adjust your settings, whether you want the MA cross to be taken into consideration or not. I would certainly say that you need to stick with box number 1, which is halfway above the green or below the red. I don't think you can trade crossfire without that. I also think that you need a fairly recent change of wave. I like my wave to occur within the previous 20 candles, but I do know that there's certain circumstances where I'm happy for my training assistant to ignore the fact that the crossover has not yet occurred, and I'll go into that in a second. However, if I was going to ignore the crossover, I would certainly not ignore the water atta. So if boxes 1 and 2 were ticked, i.e. if I'm above the green trend line and I've had a recent change of wave, I'm going to ignore the moving average, but I'm going to definitely look at the water atta. And what is it telling me right now? It's telling me no trade. So I would stay out of that trade. I would wait until, in these circumstances, I'll be looking for a long signal, a buy signal, and I would want a long up there to tempt me into a buy without, even if the crossover hadn't occurred. So I would still require the other 3 boxes to be in my favor if I was going to ignore, if I was going to switch off the need for a recent MA crossover. Now, that's not a good example of, that's not a good situation to turn off your MA crossover. I'll see if I can find a good example of when I would be tempted to turn off the crossover. What's happening now is on this Euro USD price is literally just moving sideways. We're 1.1 pip in drawdown. but it could go either way. It could suddenly go up or it could suddenly go down and take me out. We just have to sit and wait on that one. Yeah, sometimes you just have to trust your trading assistant because it's done everything you've asked it to do in that scenario. So you can't ask anymore. I'm going to see if I can find another example. So we're in drawdown on those two trades, and that's purely because of the situation at the minute with the American markets. Everybody's basically just sitting on their hands. So there's not going to be any quick movements. But can you see that we've now got a message saying already traded? So that is saying that this trade is still current, but it won't take another trade on Euro US. And the same here, GBP USD, it's already taken a trade. In fact, it's just taken me out of that trade. Look, this is why I wouldn't be trading today. It got me in at that point. It's moved sideways and then it's gone back. What it's done is it's gone back to test the 200 moving average. But the one at ATA is telling me to keep out. So that's not a surprise, but it was a good example of why it got me into the trade. Let's have a look at it. Let's see if I can find an example of what I'm. Yeah, this one's a better example of. So if we look at what's going on here, prices down here, it's below the red trend line. So that's box number 1 ticked. Box number 2, have we had a recent change of wave? Yes, it was green, it's now changed to red and it's quite recent. So that's 2 boxes ticked for a sell. The third box is an MA crossover. Now, the MA crossover occurred way back there. Would I be tempted to get in? No, because the one at ATA. So I might consider getting in without the recent MA crossover, but I'm going to wait until the one at ATA is stronger in my favour. It's currently saying no trade. And there we go. We've now got 2 histogram bars. And we just want a bit more positivity in the downward direction. We want this to say short. Now, if we're ignoring the need for an MA crossover, we definitely need a very strong water ATA signal. And it's saying no trade. Now, you might be tempted to get in because it looks like it's moving down fairly fast. But I wouldn't rush into that because I'm waiting for water ATA to tell me to get in. I'm keeping an eye on this information here. It's a bit difficult to read it because the candles are above it. I'll try and doesn't make much difference there. But you can see price is well down, but it's sort of hesitating now. Not strong enough for me to get in for a sell. It's just changed. It's changed to short. Now we've got 3 consecutive water ATA histogram bars. So it's telling me. So what I could do is I could override this and I could automatically get in for a sell. So I'll do that for now. No, I won't because price is going in the wrong direction. It's saying short, but I know not to get in because price is wicked down there and then it's changed direction. So this is telling me to get in for a sell, but I'm not going to get in for a sell. I want price to be heading downwards. But what I was about to do was click on that panel there, click on S for sell and override my trading assistant. But then I realized price is going in the wrong direction. So I'm not going to override. The trading assistant has kept me out of a trade that I would have lost. So maybe I should learn to trust my trading assistant more. Okay, so let's have a look. So both of those trades I've now lost both of those trades. Really just down to consolidation. Price went up a little bit and then it came down again. It's just been bobbling up and down all afternoon, the whole morning. There's really not enough movement to justify getting in now. I'll go back and look at that again. Yeah. So it wasn't. Well, the trading assistant didn't get me in because it didn't satisfy my criteria. I was thinking about overriding a trading assistant, but I didn't, and it's just as well because price is reversed up on that candle there. It's reversed. It started going up, but interestingly, it's saying no trading because the spread is high, and the spread is 2.6 pips. And I've told my trading assistant to stay out of trades when it gets above 2. So the trading assistant is doing a good job for me. It's keeping me out of trades that would either not. I would definitely have been taken out. That would have hit my stop loss. But even if I'd won, the spread is way too high for my satisfaction. So the trading assistant has definitely done its job on that pair. It's done its best on these two pairs. It got me in because all my criteria were satisfied, but the state of the market meant that I lost the trades. However, you'll see that we've got already traded there, and we've got already traded there. Now, to go back to what Curtis was asking at the start of the session, the trading assistant is programmed to only take one trade per pair, per session. And I'm going to ask Oliver if he can make an adjustment to the trading assistant so that we have the option to either stick with that and only take one trade per pair, or to be able to toggle the settings so that it will get me into more than one trade per pair. Obviously not at the same time, but if you've lost this trade, you might see an opportunity to get in, and you think, well, you leave it to your trading assistant to satisfy all of the 4 criteria and then get into another trade. Now you can do that, as I was saying earlier. I'll say it again. If you go to the navigator window, you'll see that we've got the 4 pairs here. They've all got blue hats, but the Euro USD and the GBP USD, you will not take another trade unless you do something to get it to do that. And the way around it at the minute is to, if you right click on Euro USD and you remove the trading assistant from Euro USD, and then you put it back on again by clicking on that crossfire to brackets 3 and then dragging it across, and it puts it back on to that pair again. But you do have to load your settings. These are not my settings. They're not my current settings. I need to load settings, and I need to look for the 3 pip, the Euro EU, Euro USD 3 pip set. If I highlight that and open that, this is now my afternoon crossfire settings, and just check the start time. It's 6 o'clock. I'm going to come back to my settings in a minute. So yeah, 1 o'clock. This is my current settings, and it'll eventually. Well, it's already looking for a sell signal. So, and it's just taken another trade. So that was coincidence, wasn't it? So I've literally overcome the fact that it said already traded, and at the minute it's working for me because it took a trade at that point. Prices were in for a sell, and at the minute I'm 0.2 pips in credit. I'll go back to a different, there was another pair I can do that on. So this one is saying already, it's actually still saying already traded. That should disappear actually. But it has got me into another trade, see that the numbers of that. Need to do the same on this one. So I need to go to GBP USD. I need to remove the trading assistant from that. Remove, and then I need to reload it onto there and reload my settings. So the 4 pip PM is 1, 2, 3 pairs that need to be on that setting. Open, okay, and it's already looking for a buy signal because I'm above the green. I'm above the green trend line. So we've now overcome the fact that it's programmed to only take 1 trade per pair. Hopefully we'll be able to do that differently soon. So GBP USD is still looking for a buy, but on Euro USD we're actually in for a sell. So I'll just go through what I can see, and then I'll look at I'll quickly go through my settings. So the trading assistant got me in where that green dotted line is. There's a red arrow indicating that. And the reason it got me in was because price had come below the red trend line. So that's box number 1 ticked. Box number 2 is, has there been a recent wave change? So it's changed from green going upwards to red going downwards. And that's within my criteria, which is within the last 20 candles. Has there been, box number 3, has there been a recent MA Costello? Well, there has, it occurred there. And that is within my, I've set it at 12. So that all satisfies my criteria. If I put a line down on the candle that it got me in at, so it got me in on that candle, at that point, we had this blue line, which I prefer to be white, but the blue line is pointing away from the dead zone, and the histogram was above the dead zone. So it got me in, but to be fair, this histogram probably changed. It probably was above that one when it started off, and then it dropped back down again because the price went in the wrong direction. But at the end of the day, we're 1 pip in credit right now. 1.6 pips in credit. So this is my stop loss, this red dash line. This is my take profit. Now there is something else that I can do, because on Euro USD, I'm risking 3 pips to make 6 pips. Now that line, if you hover over it, it'll tell you it's not quite 6 pips, it's 5.9 pips. But the great thing about the trading assistant is, if you feel that the trade is going in your direction, you can click on that red line, you can drag it down slightly. And then if you hover over it again, so that is now 6.4 pips. So my take profit is slightly above my original target. But if price is going to go down, I don't want to miss out. So I'll leave it at 6.4 pips. But that's an adjustment that you can make. The other thing that you can do is you can adjust the stop loss. So we're currently on a 3 pip stop loss. If I just hover again, that's 3.1 pips stop loss. If price moves sufficiently far enough down, I might be tempted to move my stop loss down. I can move it. One of the places I could move it to might be to this, where this red trend line is. But that's something that you can do with experience. I'm not suggesting that you start moving your stop losses. We're on a pretty tight stop loss anyway because we're on 3 pips. I would personally, I would leave that, and unless I started to come down here, I could make it so that it was a no loss trade because I could drag my stop loss down to below my entry point, and therefore, if price reversed, I would come out, I would be taken out, but still in profit. But that's probably a bit too advanced for anybody new. I'm going to look at my. I'm at the 2 o'clock mark now, so I'm going to look at my settings really quickly. If anybody's got any questions, please shout out. So,
One question, Richard. Do you find when you switch from the, you use the profiles to switch from your AM to your PM or the other way around?
Yeah.
Do you find that it switches off everything on algo trading?
yes, it does.
Okay, that's all right. I'd missed that for a couple of times, so obviously it didn't trade, but that's great. Thank you. I'll look for it more carefully.
I'll just demonstrate there what Helen was asking about. You see where it says manage profile. If you look at my cursor up at the top here, it says manage profiles, and I've got one profile for the afternoon session and one profile for the morning session. So if I click on that, you'll see that we're currently looking at Richard's PM crossfire. So that's in the UK, we're now PM. If I switch to Richard's AM crossfire, you'll see I've got 5 pairs on there. And they're the pairs that I trade in the UK morning time. Now, if you look at the algo trading, because I've switched from one profile to another, it's kept my algo trading switched off. And if you look at my navigator panel, you'll see that these 5 pairs have all got grey hats instead of blue hats. What I need to do, if I want to trade the morning pairs, I need to click on algo trading. This turns green and the hats turn to blue hats. Now, if I go back to my afternoon session, it's automatically turned off algo trading once again. So I need to click on that, and I've now got 4 blue hats. So I'm going to get rid of that. No, I'm not. I'm going to get rid of navigator window. I'm looking at this pair. We're still 1 pip down, and I'm going to use the last few minutes to go through my settings. Again, if anybody's got any questions, please shout. Or
You know the what at signal, Richard, when you were saying where it says no trade.
Yeah.
Do you only look at that when you turn the MA crossover off? Is that the only time you use that?
oh no, I do rely an awful lot on the water atta indicator, and if the water atta indicator is telling me no trade, I quite definitely stay out of the trade.
You can get in using the EA, even if that says no trade. Will it not get you in, even if it's satisfied everything? Will it not get you in, or will it keep you out?
It'll keep me out when the water atta is saying no trade over here.
Right.
Now you can, once again, you can override it because you can just press the buy or the sell buttons up there. But I wouldn't override the water atta. I find it's a really good indicator. It's one that I rely on an awful lot to get me into a trade and to keep me out of a trade. So personally, I would never override the water atta. That's what I look for in the water atta. I look for the explosion line pointing upwards away from the dead zone line. I look for the nice strong green histogram bars above the explosion line. And you need more than one, you probably need 2 or 3. But the test is you look at this information here, and if that is saying no trade, in my eyes, you should keep out. Whatever else is going on with the trading assistant, I would never overrule the trading assistant. You see now, we've got the opposite of what I'm looking for. We've got the explosion line pointing downwards towards the dead zone, and we've got the histogram below. Well, it's not only below the explosion line, it's also below the dead zone. So that is a no. I would definitely not get in for a sell or a buy. I would just trust the water atta. And you can see what's going on. We're still in the trade, but it's moving sideways. It's not a strong enough. This is telling me there's not momentum, there's not the volume in the market. It's just going to move sideways until something happens.
Before you had the TAs, Richard, did you? So I used to try and use the water atta, and I found it was great to keep me out of a trade when it was below the orange line, but it's really hard. I found it really hard to decide when to get in, because almost the minute you get in with 2 or 3 green or red lines, it goes in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But you don't have very long to make your decision, do you? You kind of like, okay, I've got 2 green lines, 2 strong green lines going up. I've got to get in.
That's right. And to be, I would, if I think back to what I used to do when I traded manually, I would have got in, for instance, there, because the histograms above the white explosion line, the white explosion line pointing away from the desert, I would have got in, but maybe I would lose more trades that way. I mean, it did get me in on that candle, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a bit tricky, but I think if in doubt, keep out kind of thing. I always look for a signal here to say long or short.
Yes, I guess now we've got that. It's great, but it's kind of using it manually that was,
Yeah.
as I say, it was great for keeping you out, but not very good for getting in.
Well, I think if you relied on it to get you in, you probably would get in less trades, but maybe there'd be more positive trades. I mean, that's up for debate, but let me try and just. I mean, this is just moving. There was one of the educators used to say, if you're in a trade and it stays in for more than a certain number of candles, just get out. And you know, this is becoming. However, we're talking about trading assistants, and my trading assistant is following my rules, and it's keeping me in, because we haven't. For it to take me out, it would need to go all the way up there. Let me just drag that down. Yeah, okay. So there's my stop loss. There's my take profit. I guess if you're using a trading assistant and you're confident in your settings, you've got to stay with it. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be in any trades today. I just wouldn't want to be in a trade today. So I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to go through my settings. So if I right click anywhere on the chart and I go to my expert list. Now this is my expert list for Euro US. I've got one lot of settings for Euro US, and then the other 3 are all identical. So I've got 2 lots of settings on the afternoon session, one for Euro USD and one for the other 3 pairs. So I'm going to look at Euro USD.
What's the latest version, is it, Richard? Or is there any amendments to that?
This is my current settings. And I don't think they've changed recently. I want to be at the top, not the bottom. I think you'll find that they're identical too. So I'm looking at these first few. I wonder if I can tighten that up a bit. Yeah, just to focus on the first few items on there. Okay, so I'm just going to look at these first few items first, and basically I'm asking the trading assistant to use the risk percentage for lot calculation. In other words, I'm going to stipulate the percentage risk at 0.5, and I want it to use 0.5 risk to calculate the lot size. So it's done that. I've asked it to do it, and it's calculated my lot size down here at 16.49. And at the minute, 0.5 would lose me slightly under $500 using that lot size. So those are all interrelated. I want it to risk 0.5, but I want it to make a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 2. It just got me in another trade. I'm going to ignore that for now. We'll go back to that. It won't let me do that, so I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to come out of that and come out of that. And so on Euro USD, that trade that I was in, it got me in at that point. It moved sideways and then it decided to go in the opposite direction. So it got me in for another trade for a buy. Got me in because I was above the green trend line. There was a recent change from down red to up green, and there was a recent MA crossover. It's all happening now, isn't it? So we're in a trade under water atta at that point. You look down there, the water atta. That's just. So it got me in because there'd been 1, 2 on that count. That was the second consecutive positive signal, and it said it's saying long there. So we're good to get in on all 4 counts. And we're 1.4 pips up. There's my stop loss. There's my take profit. If I hover over it, it should say 6 pips or 60 points. There we go. 60 points is 6 pips. So it's gonna take me out when it gets up to that red dash line there. I just need to repeat. I wouldn't be in these trades in any event if I was trading live, because election day in the US. But right, so we're in 1 trade. I think we might possibly be in a second trade. Yeah, we're actually in 2 trades right now. But I need to go back. I'm 15 minutes over time. I'll very quickly go through my settings. So these are my settings for this pair, Euro US. So 0.5 is the amount I'm prepared to lose. I want to get 1 to 2. Ignore the entry lots. I've got a stop loss of 3 and I've got a take profit of 6. I've got a magic number. I would suggest if you are putting my settings on your chart, you choose a different magic number and I will give it a different name. But that's because you're on demo, it really doesn't matter right now. 36 is just, that just moves the chart to the left so that you can, it moves, that would normally be over here, but I've moved it to the further to the left so I can read what's going on. Spread filter protection, as I said, this is the same on all of my pairs. I ask my trading assistant to only take trades when the spread is 2 pips or under. If the spread is more than 2, it will not get me into any trade. I've got a daily loss protection because I'm trading 4 pairs. I need to protect my balance, and so I'm saying 4 times 0.5 is 2. And in other words, I want it to stop taking trades once I've got to a 2% loss. I wanted to stop taking trades once I get to 6% gain. I'm only going to make 4% because I'm on 1 to 2, but I'm giving it some wriggle room and leaving that at 6. And I'm asking it to treat all these 4 pairs in one basket. So in other words, it's lumping all of these 4 pairs together to get to my 2% loss maximum. I don't look at any partial closing. I do look at the new settings. I wanted to show the calendar. I wanted to stop trading during news. I've set mine at 5 minutes before to 5 minutes after, and I'm only interested in high impact news. You can change those if you wish. Crossfire properties in the afternoon session, I wanted to look back 900 candles. In other words, it's looking back to 10 p.m. UK time last night, which was the start of the opening of the current Asian session, or today's Asian session. I'm asking it to look for trades for 180 minutes. That's 3 hours. So start at 1 o'clock and look forward to 4 p.m. I'm looking at start time of trading of 1300 hours. On the other profile settings, I start those trades at 600 hours, 6 a.m. And there's just 2 really important ones below that, and that is the Heiken Ashi settings. I've got mine set on 13. I've got my look back at 20, so it only takes into account a change of Heiken Ashi candles if it's occurred within the previous 20 candles. The HMA, just ignore those. The MA crossover, I wanted to look for an MA crossover within the last 12 candles. My 13 moving average is the fast moving average. The other 2 I put on 200. So I've only got 2 actual moving averages, and that's about it. I know I've rushed through that, but you can replay the video if you want to. I'm just going to go back and see this one. It looks as if we've won both of these, or we've won one and we're pretty close to winning the other.
Yeah, my Euro USD just coming on that one.
Yeah. Okay, so GBP USD, we got in at that point there. We're aiming for that point there. The water ATA is slightly losing a bit of momentum, a bit of volume, but I would stay in this trade. I would trust my trading assistant. It's actually, you see, we're on 7 pips, and we're on GBP USD, we've got a 4 pip stop loss and an 8 pip take profit. So when that reaches 8 pips, it'll take me out. I'll go back to Euro USD.
Hi, Richard.
Hi.
So I never got on earlier. I got a phone call, hit me just as I was coming on. But I got GBP CAD just stopped out, but mine hasn't triggered. I'll look at the replay. Mine hasn't triggered these other ones, and I thought it should have done, but it didn't pick them up.
Okay.
So I'll have to look and see.
You need to check your settings.
Yeah, I'll go through
Has
the
it
whole
just got
thing.
you into that GB CAD, Alistair?
It didn't. Then it stopped me out.
It's
On
just
about-
about mine's about halfway to it taking me out, I think. It's not took me out yet, but
4 pip stop I've got on that one, and it dumped it.
it has now.
It has.
See it on
That's
screen.
talking
So
to me,
that's
that is. Talking to me. I got a door going off.
So I'm gonna call it a day because I've got somebody waiting for me. But this Euro USD. So but anyway, you need to check your settings because there must be something different in your settings. This one got me in at this point. It got me out at that point, and that would be on Euro USD. That would be a 6 pip move, and that would give me because I'm on $100,000 demo account, that would give me just over $1,000. or around about $1,000 profit on that pair. And let's go back. This one's hasn't quite made it. Now, let's talk about real life. If this was real life trading, and I just won $1,000 on Euro US, I think I'd probably get out of that right now, because I'm going to be somewhere around about $900 in profit. I can either wait until it moves all the way up there, or I can take whatever profit is in this one now.
Would you move your stop loss up?
Yeah, I would definitely move my stop loss up. I'll just take it up there. So if it reverses against me, I'm still going to make a profit. So there's my stop loss now. I'm still going to make a profit. But because I've just made $1,000, and $1,000 is my daily target, I would probably just take what profit there is in this one now, because it's going to be about $900.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I would do the same.
It could turn against me, and I'd end up making a couple of $100, or I can take what's in it now. But that's just, that's a good problem. Well, it's not a problem now, because it's just hit my target. So I've just made 1,000 on this one. If I'd stayed in, if I'd moved my, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I could have stayed in and made even more profit if I'd moved my take profit there. But that's a good point to end on. We've had 2 successful trades. Personally, I wouldn't be in any trades at all today because of the US election, but at least it gave us the opportunity to talk through what the trading assistant is all about. So if there's no final questions, I'm going to call it a day. As I say, I've got somebody waiting for me. This is looking promising. Well, no, I wouldn't get in again. I wouldn't get in again. Don't. There's no point. The wave change was way back there. It's losing. It's not the best trade to get in. But would you want to get in if you just won $2,000? That's my point.
Richard. So I'll just check. Yeah, I didn't notice that actually. I picked up a trade already on GBP USD.
Right.
And it stopped me out, so it didn't, already traded it.
Yeah.
It happened, so I didn't get me in again.
Yeah. It got me in a trade back here and took me out at a loss along here somewhere. Or was it the other way around? I can't remember. But I'd had a previous trade, but I'd overrode.
You took it off, yeah. You took off the override, yeah.
So anyway, not the best day for trading, but at least we've been able to go through some of the key points. So thanks for jumping on, everyone. I shall be back on Thursday at 1 o'clock, and hopefully things will have settled down on the US dollar by then. Thanks for jumping on. I'll catch you on Thursday afternoon. Or Thursday
Thanks,
morning.
Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
Cheers,
Cheers, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Cheers now. Stop share. And
Thanks for that.
thank you very much. Thank you.